Exposure. Pleasant Sunday afternoon to you, Jamaican. Welcome to Exposure this afternoon. We'll be looking at the Bellevue Hospital. I'm your moderator, Michael Sharpe.
Okay. I know I'm getting ahead of the story, but I just wanted to bring that in at that point because Exposure, which of course was the news talk show
Sunday was
of the
something
time.
else.
Sunday 12:15.
That's right.
And Michael used to take the program around the country,
Yes.
and he took it to Montego Bay and asked me to sit in with him.
That's how it happened?
That's how it
Okay.
happened. Yeah.
There you go.
I
There
still
you
remember that first program and the feeling that, I'd come home. So let's come back to you in 1983. Tell me how it is you came to.
1983, I worked then with JBC TV, having come from JIS. Very short stints, I was heard on JIS, and the lady says, "You better come on over here." And as I reached the Grenada situation, invasion broke out, so I went for JBC. And then a gentleman by the name of J. Lester Spalding, he saw me at, he had reason to be at JBC, and he says, Mr. Sharpe would like you to come down to radio. And I thought of it. I went to a good friend, and I said, what you think about that? And he said, yeah, man. Because he had worked here for many, many years, the older Geddes. The older Geddes. Yes, Tino. Yes, so he said, yeah, come on down. As a matter of fact, he gave me a T-shirt with, RGR on it from then. And for me, leaving television, people think it's a promotion.
Yeah, nowadays that would have sounded like a backway step.
That's right. But for me, it was just independent media.
Okay.
That's what fascinates me. I'm able to say anything without anybody wondering what Jamaica House is going to say. Whoever occupies Jamaica House.
Which was something you had at JBC.
That is
Which
correct.
was an issue at JBC.
That was an
State-owned
issue.
media.
State-owned media. So I still, if I can work with GIS and know exactly who my clients are.
Right.
But when you come to the media, don't pretend
Yeah.
to be anything else but state-owned.
Had you always wanted to be in journalism when you were in school?
Yes, I left Calabar, went straight at the Gleaner. There you go.
You touch everybody, man.
Everybody. And after the Gleaner, like so many of us, we joined our parents overseas and went into journalism at Hunter College. And there got the ink in my bloodstream, as we from newspaper would say, and came back home and did an audition at RGR and never get through.
Never got through.
Never get through. You just do it and them nobody call you.
Okay.
And you call and them nobody follow up. But it was interesting that the top man called, and him saw me, So I guess, what is feel can be unfeel.
Sometimes you have to go and show you can do it.
That is correct.
So how different was the newsroom when you started from the newsroom today?
Wow. I came in and was immediately placed to the Parliament side of things. So I was on a beat, the Parliament beat, and I honed my skills there and recognized for that. Inside Gordon House.
Inside Gordon House.
That's how it was inside Gordon House, naming out.
I don't know how I don't have one of those.
Doors. See? So you thought you knew my history.
No, man, I know inside Gordon House, but it's just so much, But,
yes, and got a PAJ award for it. One of the awards that I'll cherish because I didn't ask them for it. And so that went down. There was. What I liked about the structure in the old newsroom is that you know who the news editor was and you know who the deputy news editor was. So now it's specialization. You have people in charge of this, charge of that, because it's news and, affairs, current affairs. So you split between the two. You're not in any specific stream. You do them all.
Who were some of the people in the newsroom at the time?
David Banks. I think there was one Gary Allen. And I think a gentleman who now was just recognized and is head of the Gleaner.
Garfield.
Garfield,
Grandison was...
another St. Mary man. They were correspondents.
Yeah.
And
Who was news editor?
she was Janet Mott. And there were the Gettys, David was there. And a lot of journey people came through, you know, and but I was one of those who, until I went to being what they call a deputy news editor.
Yes, with Jennifer Grant as editor.
Correct, and that's correct. And then what happened? I think we got into television. Yes, we bought.
No man, you moved too fast. Man.
Moved too fast.
Yeah, man. You skip over some holy or something.
Oh, well, you know.
So let's go back to, because you mentioned Grenada, even though you say you did it for JBC. Tell me a little bit still about that visit.
Grenada was a very, very serious situation, and I suspected, it helped me to make up my mind that I could easily have left JBC. Tell you why. At the time, remember, the invasion was backed by a few Caribbean countries. It was on the cusp, I suspect, of an election inside Mr. Seaga's head. Mr. Neville Gallimore, Dr. Neville Gallimore, came down and starting to manage that. Anthony Abrams was the Minister of Information then. And remember, I had not so long ago came out of New York, where I did my studies, and when I saw the media was instrumental in the role of one Tricky Dick Nixon. Yes, so I understand the power of the media.
Yeah.
And when people would dare want me to write stories a certain way and to put their hands on my shoulder.
That's at JBC?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't play that.
Okay.
I don't play that. Not for sale here. So,
because there was so much controversy about the invasion, whether or not the government was right to support the U.S. in the invasion of Grenada and so on.
And to see it, and to what was the real insult was, we're in Barbados, we're in Trinidad, we move because who's going to have a meeting where? Is there going to be a special meeting of CARICOM? And Barbados was the Grantley Adams Airport, is where you saw the big planes, and then you knew something was on. And to get to Grenada was now a key factor in a journalist's head. You're writing stories about it, you're sending it back home, so getting there, all of a sudden there was no seat on the plane for me.
What?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, go back home and tell people you never reached Grenada.
That is correct, So I found my way. I have to be an intrepid type of guy,
So, tell me the story.
Well, I got over on one of those big C-150s, they call it, the cargo people.
You stowed away?
I traveled with them because
Okay.
then they wouldn't know of any internal politics and who is want to shape up for an election that they're going to call and that type of stuff. So in their heads, that's that. My job was.
Oh, you're
journalism.
saying it's a Jamaican plane that left you?
The Jamaican, there was no place in the seat that left with them for me. There was an overseas crew that had come down.
And they took the overseas crew?
Yes.
Over the Jamaican?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So I...
wow. What was that like, that moment?
It was painful. It was painful. It was hurtful. It was sad. I called my mother then of loving memory and cried and said, "Can you believe that this is happening?" She said, "Don't worry about it." And I said, okay, I won't worry about it. I know what I have to do. And I got over there. You must be the first person hearing this in all the world. Save this one for you. How many years, right? But that's how that went. But I went and I did my stories. I joined up back with Roddy Matheson, because as a cameraman, he would have gotten a seat,
yes.
But it was this reporter guy. We have somebody who can do that, But all you have to do is do it fair and balanced, I'm not going there to do public relations work. Never have, never will. And so therefore that was cut and dry. But it was something else. I had a good experience. I was left with the thought that always I hear everywhere else. I never knew this could have happened here.
All right, so let me leave that and move on to another of the huge events you covered early on, which was Gilbert.
Gilbert, I thought you were going to the next one? Caribbean island.
Which
the
one?
Coup. Trinidad and Tobago.
I didn't know you were there.
I
you
was
covered
there.
That.
I was there.
I
was on the roof of the insurance building, looking down at a red house.
I should back up a little bit, because sometimes we're talking shorthand, assuming that all of our listeners have our kind of knowledge. So this, of course, was when the Abu Bakr group overthrew, broke into Red House, which is Trinidad's parliament, took the MPs hostage, and there was a standoff.
That is correct. That is correct. And we got the call. Janet Mowat says, well, Michael, move to Trinidad. And I made my way. At the airport, the one soldier, we got a drive from some soldiers. Then we were met by one who took us over the roofs. We climbed over the roofs of building in the Trinidad in Port of Spain.
I'm assuming you don't have fear of heights.
No, not at all. But I know a couple pipes, got busted along the way because we were just checking out, and then we went to the insurance building that it overlooks.
Okay, so because you are now as a reporter, you're looking for the best vantage point.
That is correct. And happily, confession time, there was a phone that was open. I could make long distance calls, and that's where I did my reports from.
The roof?
No, from not the roof, from inside the building.
Oh,
yes. But
you broke in.
No, it's an office that you got into. Think of it, it's a coup.
Resourcefulness.
Yes, nothing is there. So there was a phone there, and I would do updates. Okay. Do updates from there.
Tell me a little bit of what you remember.
What I remember is the way when the army decided they had reached some agreement that they would ease off and let the MPs come out, and the soldiers lined up, and how each person from the Abu Bakr group would come out one by one, and how then after that the MPs coming out. There was one MP in there that was killed, so there was going to be a stench in there, because it was hold out for a couple of days, as I understand it, if I recall correctly. And so I noticed how they did that, and darkness fell even in that process. And again, what was I saying? I can't believe that it would have happened here. So every time I see a community, see somebody, whether it is a country or a community, the line, I didn't believe something like this could have happened here. So there are no surprises for me in life. No matter which neighborhood you think is cut off from all kind of whatever country is cut off, because when you see how they play out after that, you're patrolling around, and the curfew, that came on the lockdown on the country, and the Trinis and the party, the curfew party, and they're still doing their thing inside the house, but it was fun. News is always embellished further away, so when you're there, it is not as grave as when you hear it elsewhere. And that was a very significant point in my life, because you think of the countries with their democracies, and how fragile we must not take things for granted. And I've watched the Jamaican democracy. I've seen our one-party parliament in '83, and how we flirted with that. And I've seen where the EOJ is now respected in terms of how it goes about used in other countries, used by political parties.